Okay,
All right. Here we go. Thursday, October 22nd. Urban Renewal Agency Downtown Advisory Board. Getting started here. We're going to start. We'll go through our roll call. So there we go. There we go. Joshua K. I see Joshua. No? Okay. Aaron Turpinning, I'm here. Hillary Holman Kidd.
Here.
Thank you. Vincenzo Maduri. Nope. And Tyson Giza.
Present.
Thank you. Charles Weathers.
Here.
Brad Compton. No Brad today. Scott McLeod.
Here.
Linda Nishioka.
here.
Dana Vuktavine. I'll see him. And Lori Miller. And then I think we do have Josh. Okay, are you on?
Yes, I am.
Great. And Vincenzo. Is there.
Yeah.
All right.
Hi.
Thanks, everybody. And so the agenda, could someone make a motion to approve the agenda with one change, moving the information reports item B to A and putting A to B. So basically flipping those first two. If we could get a motion in a second.
I move on the agenda from information reports B be turned to A, first one that Clint would be presenting, and A would then become B.
Thank you, Linda.
Second.
Thanks, Scott. All right, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Or give a thumbs
Aye.
up. And those opposed? All right, thanks. And approval of the minutes. Everybody get a chance to Go ahead.
I so move that we approve the minutes.
Thanks, Josh.
And I'll second. Linda?
Thank you. Thank you. Any discussion? All right, all those in favor say aye.
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 And opposed? All right, thank you. So we need to talk about meeting dates for November and December.
Yes, I can talk about that. Historically, we have combined kind of November and December together because our regular meeting falls on Thanksgiving. And not that I don't like being with all of you, but I figure you probably don't want to meet on Thanksgiving. And so we've done it like the second Tuesday or the fourth Tuesday is kind of fourth Thursday is kind of where we've been. So that would be December 8th or December 10th, depending on people's availability. So what are people thinking? I mean, we also don't have to have one if that's everybody's preference. For those 2 months, I just would like to get your feedback on that.
So Cherie, I would ask, do you feel that there'll be enough information that we should have a meeting, since that would mean 3 months until we would meet again?
That's a very good question, Linda. Thank you. I am not aware of any action items that I would need to bring in front of you. There's been history with the board that their preference has been, unless I had an action item, not to have a meeting. However, that changes with the board composition, and that a lot of times people just want to get information on projects and they want to be updated on things, not necessarily always action. And that's kind of what we've been doing, being thoughtful to both of those things so that you're current but not meeting just for the sake of meeting. As you know, starting in probably January or February, we then have 2 meetings a month in order to get through the budget. So we do double up in order to get through that cycle. So it's whatever you would like.
So should we maybe be looking at the possibility of scheduling the 2 meetings in January?
If we have 2 meetings in January, typically our schedule is the 2nd and the 4th. And I don't mean the 2nd Thursday and the 4th Thursday.
Yes, I understood you. Okay. Well, I would feel that if there is information to provide, it would be nice to hear it and have a short meeting, unless others feel that that could all be done with email.
Yeah, I
I'd
agree.
rather meet than not, even if there's not an action item. It can be for. I felt so disconnected when we weren't meeting in the initial stages of COVID from DAB, and I felt like we lost a little bit of momentum maybe, and I'd hate to have that happen.
I would probably feel the same way. I think that just having a brief meeting might be nice in early December so that we can just be caught up and be ready for January.
Yeah, just looking at my calendar, December 10th looked good to me, and I agree with Josh and Linda. It seems like it'd be a good idea to at least have it on the calendar. And then as we got closer, if there was literally nothing to talk about, then we could cancel it. But that's a couple of months away. That seems like there'd probably be a few things to at least update us on, and I don't know.
Well, what I could do is I could have Public Works come and update us on streetscape. It should be about done. And they can update us on the one-way to two-way conversion and the Union Street project. And that way we have that already refreshed before we go into the budget discussions.
That's a great idea.
How's that sound?
Good.
Yeah, that sounds good. Maybe, did this come up at our last meeting? Also police station, right? We spent quite a bit of money that way, and it's just finishing up. I don't know if there's, a tour's probably not realistic, but
I'll ask.
yeah, it's just a thought.
The building is stunning.
Yeah.
So exciting to see it finished. Well, almost.
Yeah. Okay, so do we need to
I need a motion if you want
Okay.
it to the 10th.
I move that we have a DAB meeting on December 10th, Thursday.
Thanks, Linda.
Can you add, Linda, that we won't be doing one this in November?
And that would be to replace November and December later the month, I guess or should I just say November?
We're combining November and December into the 10th.
I move that we combine November and December DAB meeting to Thursday, December 10th at noon.
And can we get a second?
I'd second that.
Thank you, Scott. All right, any further discussion? All right, all those in favor say aye or give a thumbs up.
Aye.
Aye.
And all those opposed? All right. Thank you.
So at the December meeting, you will be doing your election of officers to start in 2021. So don't all jump at it right now. Don't get excited, but be thinking about that. Aaron obviously is our current chair and Vincenzo is our vice.
Well, if we'd known that, we might not have made the motion.
Why do you think I waited?
Yeah.
Why did I think Josh Kay was the vice?
I thought I was
Yeah.
too. I thought we
Did you change?
I think so. We might have to go back to the minutes, but I'm like,
No,
I'm like-
it's Joshua.
Okay. Vincenzo, no wonder you had that look, Vincenzo. My apologies, Josh.
I remember that look.
Yeah, that look was priceless, actually. So Josh,
Thank you, Josh.
thinking about it,
Great.
heart attack moment. Thank you, Scott. Good memory.
Okay. Then I think, Clint, you're up.
Okay, thank you, everybody. For those I've not met, my name is Clint Dameron. I'm the Real Property Services Manager in the Urban Development Department for the City of Salem and also the agency. I'm here to give you a quick overview of the Arches property acquisition. As Sheree may have told you, I can't give out the details until they become public via the City Council calendar. Which we are on the agency calendar on November 9th. So those will come out the Friday before normally. So I believe everyone's familiar with where Arches is located, 615 Commercial Street Northeast. The site is about 3/4 of an acre and their office building is just under 16,000 square feet. The agency is going to acquire the ground only. Arches or Midwest Valley Community Action Agency will retain ownership of the building. So it'll be theirs to maintain, theirs to operate and own. So we are going to acquire the property the ground sits on and then turn around and do a ground lease, a long-term ground lease with Mid-Willamette Valley for the building to remain on site and for them to operate the Arches project. What I can share is the appraised value of the building and the land was $3,015,000. We are paying a substantial portion less than that for the property. And leasing it back to Arches. So moving on to the lease, it's a very long-term lease, as most ground leases are. It's a long base term with 2 additional option periods. And if anybody recalls, the whole genesis for this idea was to free up Mid-Willamette Valley's debt service that they owe on the property that they could in turn use for operations and serving the homeless community. So there will be a nominal rent for Arches for the building to remain on the property as long as they maintain their community service and the homeless services on site. In exchange for this nominal rent, they will be providing additional weekday hours during the week, and then also Saturday hours for a total of 41 hours during the week for homeless services. And that's expanded from their current offering, which I don't know exactly what that is, but it is an increase. I don't have a whole lot else I can share, but I answer any questions I can. If anybody has any that I'm available to answer, I'd be happy to try.
So Clint, for the board, again, you've shared things that they haven't had information on in the past. What they've had information on is what's in our budget for Riverfront for acquisition. We had a lot of conversation during this budget season because in addition to the line item that was undisclosed until now, the $2 million line item, there's also a 4.1 million line item for a potential navigation center. So I just wanted to make sure that, the board's connected with where this is on the budget. But since we have you in our meeting today, what would be interesting, because we have the UGM Saffron sites that we're going to be putting out through an RFP for redevelopment. So how do we look at the different elements when we go to figure a price for that? I mean, let's say, it's $5 million is what the appraised value is, but somebody buys it for $1 million. What are the things that can be considered to write down the purchase price of a property that we own. I mean, a lot of environmental, demolition, I'm winging it here, but I think that the board would appreciate kind of that educational opportunity to learn how things, the value of what we can do if somebody buys a property from us because of the benefits that we want that are different than the market, I guess.
Right. Sure. So regarding the, Shree's talking about the Saffron and UGM properties across from the UD office here on Commercial Street. We've already acquired the Saffron properties, which include Saffron Supply storefront, Runaway Arts and Crafts on the corner, and then there's a hair salon, which is in the same building with a different entrance down Chemeketa. And then additionally, Saffron's operates a big warehouse behind the plumbing store on Front Street, and then a big vacant, the pipe yard on the corner of Center and Front Streets. And then once we get the UGM property, we should acquire that as soon as they know for sure they're moving to the new building. Within a month or two, we'll be able to move on that. That's already done and under contract. So then we'll have most of that entire block with the exception of the ABC Music Store and the 2-unit condo and the little 2-unit retail building on the corner of Front Street. So as you can imagine, if you've been around town a long time, you may or may not remember, there was actually 2 service stations on the UGM site. One at the front of UGM's kind of main entrance was an older gas station from the 40s or 50s. And which a lot of people don't remember is on the backside of Front Street, there was also a Phillips 76 station and a car maintenance facility. So a lot of underground hydraulic tanks, all that sort of stuff. So in buying that, we were aware of the environmental challenges. So we did a holdback from the sale price and completed the remediation. And then the seller contributed a fixed amount toward that. And then we also achieved a brownfield grant just recently for $60,000 to help offset the cost there as well. Excuse me. And that remediation is underway right now. So moving forward on that, which is good news. So getting back to Shree's point, you know, one of the agency's missions is to clean up and reuse old tainted sites, of which this is one. So, you know, on a market-driven side, the agency would come in, buy it, clean it up, and then market it under, you know, one of 2 ways. You could go out to development and say, here's a clean site ready to go. We've assembled, you know, a block and a half of property. It's environmentally clean. You know what you're getting with DEQ. And we go for a market price on that. And then what Shree was referring to is, well, what about if we offer it for less than a market price? Well, that's what we do on a couple smaller instances we've done out on Portland Road, where, you know, we say we'll sell it or partner with you for less than the market value. But for that, you know, we're going to want to see certain things involved in the development. You know, maybe it's a mix of uses. Maybe it's a certain percentage of low income units included in any residential. Maybe it's, you know, some building requirements for square footage, height, types of use, that kind of thing. So we don't know exactly what that is yet, but we're going to be studying that and hope to go out for bid or for RFP on that in the spring of 21. So we're researching right now kind of what that model might look like. So we don't know, you know, it'll probably be a mix of, we're hoping for a mix of uses, as you can imagine, around a downtown site. Something that'll be attractive and beneficial to everybody downtown.
I've had a committee, Clint, of subcommittee of DAB members. We've been working with the full board on elements of the RFP for the UGM Saffron site, which is why I thought this would be helpful in them understanding the different elements of what is considered when somebody is buying a property that we own. So obviously, we anticipate that whoever purchases UGM Saffron would purchase it, but also want other things like a grant. And so those have nothing to do with typically how we structure our purchase price. They're not, that's not considered, but if somebody had had a grant before we purchased something, that might be something that would be considered. So they're not getting double, you know what I mean?
Right.
Yeah, okay. Because obviously we have given over $1 million to Arches. Riverfront has to make internal renovations to the building, obviously not the land, but to the building.
Right,
So-
and that's the main difference in the appraised value. That's why it was backed down so substantially, was due to the money put in by the agency. And then federal programs also has quite a bit of money invested in there. So it wouldn't be fair for them to be paid market value when the purchaser, being the agency, has so much already in it.
Okay,
That's part of the value consideration.
okay. Anybody have any questions for Clint?
I'd like to
I'm
ask
not-
a question.
Go ahead, Ty.
Clint, so the ABC Music Company, that's the only property east of the alley that the city would not have under ownership. Has there been any discussions in acquiring that, or what do you think the likelihood is of the city making an attempt to acquire that before we put it?
We have spoken with them. It's been probably 9 months or a year ago. They asked what we were paying for the other property. We shared our appraisals with them, which is what the agency paid for the property was the appraised value. So just so that they could ballpark, about what we'd be offering. And they said they'd be interested in talking to us, when the time came. So they're open to discussion is about the best answer I can give.
Okay.
The property over on Front Street, the other side of Bill Putney's or the condo, that particular property owner would be interested also in an opportunity to sell, I think, based on the last meeting I was in with him.
Yes, that property is actively being listed for sale and lease right now. I had a question in regard to the subcommittee for the RFP and its interaction, or whatever it does end up producing and whatever it recommends for public type involvement or survey type input. How do you see that connecting with staff? Because you already mentioned maybe an idea behind a use that staff would like to maybe see there or encourage it to, which is in line with what we've talked about as well. But how do you see that connecting for the best input from all different angles?
Well, as Sheree mentioned, we sit right next door to each other, and we're the same department, so we talk, and it'll all be one I guess ball of information that we input is to go into the RFP with the AB's recommendations. We certainly don't make them in a vacuum. It would also involve the agency board, / city council as well.
How do you see public input on that outside of city and DAB?
I don't know, Sheree, do you have any thoughts on that?
There would not be a public input when you do an RFP, Josh. Typically, you lay out what the parameters are, what your goal and vision is, and it goes out through our procurement department as an official solicitation, and developers respond to it. What we have done, which is more than what I've ever done on any other one of these that I've done, is that we did have our public meeting. We have been looking at input that we've gotten as a board to try to at least jumpstart what we think, we would like to see there. When we talked about you know, a grocery store or housing. I mean, those things have come out of council goals. And it's also come out of what we've heard at different times when we've had public meetings. But there isn't we don't put together an RFP and then put it out to the public to weigh in on it.
Right,
Got it.
and I guess I would add real quickly, for an example, as Linda knows, you know, the agency had a little piece of land where Linda's building is going up. You know, we don't want to make something so, to dictate something that's so stratified that it places an owner or developer in a bad spot. So if I can share Linda's example, you know, we just, you know, it kind of inferred, you know, the floor plate needed to be cover 90% of the lot area, make sure it covered the whole area. And I think, if I remember correctly, it said it must include a mix of uses, you know, 2 of these 5 uses, to let the market dictate, you know, what those mix of uses might be. You know, a hotel might be great, but if there's no market for a hotel, you know, you can wish it all you want, but it's not going to happen. So we like to, you know, put the sideboards on it and then let the developer and the market dictate what'll work there as well.
Okay, thank you.
Great. Anything else? Anybody? Thank you, Clint.
Thank you all.
Thanks, Clint.
Thanks, Clint.
Okay, so I think I'm up next to talk about the Riverfront Amphitheater. So Anita, am I able to share my screen? I haven't tried yet. No, I have to ask you. Would that be okay? You're on mute if you're.
Yes, yes. I was trying to find my mute button. Yes, you can share your screen.
Okay. It still says host disabled screen sharing when I click share screen.
Aaron,
There it goes.
TJ,
There it goes.
TJ has such a great view of all the work going on at the amphitheater.
Oh, yeah.
Every time I'm on a meeting with him, virtual meeting, I can see the workers in the background.
Yeah, I'm sure he does. So yeah, everyone see this aerial view here, the Google Earth? Yeah, okay.
Yes.
So just to orient everyone, we're talking about this parcel right here, which originally was part of this whole Boise Cascade site, which they called Pringle Square because it's on Pringle Creek, and there were 4 parcels creating a square. We did design and build South Block Apartments for Mountain West. They sold this parcel to TJ Sullivan and a group of investors that built this building, what Sheree was just talking about. And then this parcel was acquired by the city, and as part of the Riverfront Park Master Plan, came together to be a few things, I guess. A new amphitheater being the main thing that I'll be talking about. So let me go and share a new screen. Share this one. Okay, does everybody see that black and white site plan? Is
Yes.
it hard to see? Okay. If you can see my cursor here, that's the end of the old parking lot down there at Riverfront Park. And so they're adding about 60 stalls. And just to be clear, the work that you're seeing there now and this whole park development is not the project that I am working on. That was the city is doing that. But I'm getting there. What we're working on is the cover for the amphitheater stage. So, but it's all kind of, it fits, it dovetails together. So just kind of orienting everyone in case you haven't been down there. or seen it lately, it's almost done as far as the paving, the earthwork. They've planted the grass on the upper portion, and I'll show you some photos of that here in a minute. But again, adding about 60 stalls down there, this kind of new main entry promenade where they'll be able to have like food trucks or other things, vendors for events. A new amphitheater, which is larger than the old amphitheater. I'm told by the folks that run venues and set up events like concerts that this will draw bigger names, and that one of the reasons why Salem hasn't had some of the bigger acts come through is for no other reason than not having enough capacity. So again, what I'm told is we'll be able to draw bigger name groups to downtown. So let's see here. Can I go to the next picture? Share again. Yeah. Pull up some photos of what it looks like now. And again, let me know if you can see that. All right, does everybody see a photo of the?
Got it.
So that's basically what it looks like standing on the stage now, or where the stage will be. So the city's contractor has completed, for the most part, their portion of the project, which is the greater amphitheater and surrounding area. And now this part here where the stage is going is the part that's donated by the Rotary to the city. And so for that project, Dalkey Construction is building that. So let's see, there's a couple more photos here. This is in their warehouse where they're fabricating the formwork for the footings. So this is, you can see Jim standing there, he's a contractor, and the size of this formwork. So this is going to get shipped to the site and then filled with rebar and concrete, and that'll be one of the footings that'll hold. And here they are digging the hole for where that footing is going to go. So they're pretty large, pretty significant footings. And I'll go over here to some of these renderings. You can see them. They're at the four kind of corners of the amphitheater, or by the stage cover. So the structure is going to be built out of Alaskan yellow cedar glulam beams with treatment basically like they would treat a wooden bridge. So it's really meant to last a long, long time in a marine climate. There's main arches that span all the way across, and then infill pieces between. It's roughly about 5,000 square feet covered area. It does have a like electrical room and setup for sound and all that kind of stuff. Under this thing over here, it's going to have some kind of like memorial plaques and things like that. Here's a view from the pedestrian bridge. Behind it here, there's that electrical room. There's going to be like a bench and seating area. At night, it should look pretty cool, being that the top of it is a translucent material. So while it keeps water out, it does let light through. I think I have some images here of it kind of glowing at night, if I can get to on here. But I'm not sure how familiar everyone is with the concept, but basically Rotary did a competition and invited several local architects to come up with ideas, and our firm, we just had everyone in our office just kind of brainstorm and did what we call a charrette, and had everyone just kind of run with different ideas. And Dylan Chavez, an associate here, took it upon himself to go out to the Grand Ronde tribes and do some research about what was the history of this area going way back. And he was kind of excited to find that right down there at where Pringle Creek comes into the Willamette River was known as kind of a gathering area for different tribes, and Kalapuya being one of them. And then he found these baskets that the Kalapuya are famous for making, which are made of hazelnut wood, and they're woven strands of wood and create these baskets that would so they would like catch fish or different things and put it in the basket. And then, of course, it would let out the water and it would let air through to kind of help their fish dry out as they carried them back to where they were going. So it was inspirational, and that kind of led us to this design. So, it wasn't supposed to necessarily be literally a basket, but, and does everyone see the night shot now?
Nice.
So,
Powerful.
yeah, so while it's not necessarily supposed to literally be a basket, it is just inspired by that idea, and trying to also build on that idea that this was a gathering place, centuries ago, and it's a gathering place again. And there's just this idea that it would really bring the whole community together and be a place of, fun events. And yeah, the LED lights are color changing, so you could program it to be, holiday specific or, event specific, whatever you want. But it should at least glow at night and be a really interesting thing as you come across the bridge from West Salem, or as you're driving on Front Street. It's supposed to be complete in the spring. However, we will have to wait for the grass to grow before they can hold events. So the grass will be established on the upper portion here, but not in the lower area because they can't plant it right now with all the construction going on. So unfortunately, it probably won't be ready for people to walk on it next summer, maybe by next fall, just not sure. So they really wanted it to be ready for events next summer, but of course they would just trample all the grass and then it'd be ruined. So we'll see on that. I think it's around $3 million for the structure and all the electrical and all the lighting and all the landscaping around it. And that is all donated money to the Rotary. And the Rotary is then, again, building this and then giving it to the city. So the city will own this. And that's another thing, is making sure that we have all the maintenance and operation of this facility is something that is viable and that the city can carry out. And again, while it's a unique structure, we are trying to design it to last a long, long time. And yeah, really excited about it. So Sheree, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't think there's any URA money in this project.
No, I have a question for you, Aaron.
Oh, sure.
This wasn't the original location. Was it
correct?
Was it supposed to be over where the seating is right now, but it was in the greenway or something?
Yeah, that's exactly right. In fact, well, that's okay. I have a PDF. Yeah, so basically, long story short, the current amphitheater is illegal. It was built in the 90s when Honestly, people just weren't paying as close attention. But basically, there's a 50-foot setback from the river, and it's called the Willamette Greenway, and it's a state law. It's not a city thing. It's a state. So you can't build. You're not supposed to build anything unless it's water related. So you can build a dock or other certain things within that 50 feet, but nothing that's not water related. So that current amphitheater was too close, and the original design was to put that structure over the existing stage. But basically, once that project started to go forward, it kind of brought to light the fact that, yeah, you can't build there. In fact, we weren't supposed to put our stage there, but who knows why. Anyway, so, and luckily that was discovered before the master plan started for Riverfront Park. Like I said, the city had acquired this property, and that pushed them to do, rather than to just design this property, look at the entire park and say, what should we redesign things? For example, I think they're putting in restrooms up here. So there are going to be changes to the greater park as well. But yeah, does that answer your question, Cherie? So
Yeah, because that 4-acre parcel that it's on now,
mhm.
it was always talked about what was going to go there, and this wasn't what was going to go there. And that's why it changed out. Rebecca and I, on one of the nice weather days, in preparation for your presentation today, we went down and walked around there, and it's really quite impressive that when you come across the bridge, you kind of just almost have this straight shot at what this is going to look like. However, that building that you said had the electrical components in it, we just knew that was the dressing area for the actors. We figured that they had this underground kind of space, and you just ruined that for us, because that's going to be like a mechanical room, and we thought it was like a cool
Green
area
room.
for the actors. Yeah.
They might be able to use it that way. It's not going to be the most pleasant space with a bunch of breakers and switchgear and things. But
can you get up there other than those steps that go up? Is there ADA way to get up to that area?
Up there?
Yes, because I saw the steps
above?
they're in.
No. Okay. So let's see. I'll go back to this one. Kind of shows it's just landscaped. So this is kind of just a pathway kind of leading to the stage from behind the stage. One of the things I should have mentioned is this path here, while most of the time it'll be, a jogging path or whatever, just park, for events and other things, it is designed to take heavy trucks, and it's 20 feet wide. So set up and tear down, or even the artist could show up in their big tour bus and drive and park behind the stage. And so they could have they don't have that ability now, really. Not like they will here. But because of all the grades and everything that we were dealing with, we couldn't make that a ramp, Cherie.
Okay.
So it's too steep for a wheelchair. So it can't be accessible. So it's just landscaped.
Okay.
There is the possibility that, say, like a lighting crew or some event, they might be able to use that. They might be able to go up there and set something up there. So it'll still serve some purposes. But again, it was going to either be this or just a little shed. So we tried to make it something that was really integrated into the park. And we wanted this thing to feel somewhat organic, and maybe organic's not the right word, but there's kind of a flow to it, rather than like a boxy little, square building. Everything's kind of more fluid and rounded and worked into the landscape. So,
I
yeah, and
actually think it looks better in person, just as it is kind of right now,
Mhm.
just because of how it connects with everything, almost
Yeah.
better than looking at what it's supposed to look like at the end of the day.
Mhm.
It is, it really connects differently than what I thought based on looking at these pictures, but I'm hoping that Vincenzo sees that stage. See that stage, Vincenzo? Yeah.
Right. Yeah,
Yeah. Okay.
absolutely.
I mean, that is a stage. So,
Right.
okay. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And you can see, we have all kinds of different lighting, but in the controls will be in there. So presumably an event, or they can do what they want with the lighting, and it should be a lot more accommodating to events. I mean, certainly more than what's there now, which is just some pavers. So
Yep, absolutely.
Looks
So-
beautiful, Aaron.
thanks. Yeah. Any other questions? I'm just kind of scrolling through some of the photos
Okay,
here.
I've got one. Aaron, have there been sound studies done so you know what kind of volume you can pump out of there?
Yeah. So basically, the volume you can pump out of there, that's going to kind of be dictated by the sound ordinance. Yeah, this berm on the back side of the amphitheater, we did have an acoustic engineer
Perfect.
work on the project, and he said that nothing knocks sound down like the earth. That's your biggest tool. Now, of course, if we could have got it higher, then it could have really knocked the sound down from coming towards downtown. But we kind of did the best we could with the grades we had to work with. I mean, if you've been down there, it's a pretty significant amount of dirt.
It
Yeah,
is.
yeah. And projected capacity?
It's a little bit of a question mark because it's just grass, and there's a lot of variables. Like, okay, so are you going to allow people to have a blanket and it's kind of spread out? Then maybe you're getting a couple thousand. If you're going to pack them in there, you might be able to get 5,000. So,
Okay.
but the numbers are kind of squishy.
Wow.
I could get you the overall square footage, but even then, it's like the very top of the berm back here. The plan is to put trees back there and a bunch of landscaping. So it's kind of like where does that line start and stop? How many people can you really fit in? It's just a little bit up in the air. So it'll kind of be like test it out and see how it works and see how many people. And that's kind of what they've been doing with the current amphitheater too.
Yeah. It's an impressive structure.
Thanks.
So and you were saying that putting trees in that brown spot, or where you were.
I'll try to, like back here, at the back.
Oh, in the back. So not,
Yeah.
Okay, great.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking. See how right now, this concept
Right.
is kind of weaving around. I'm not sure exactly how that all got, again, that was the city's project. So
Okay.
it's kind of up in the air how many people you could fit up there, but you could fit a lot of people up there if you wanted to.
Right. Okay, good.
But the idea is that you'll actually be able to also have a secure venue, a much more secure venue and easier to set up. So they want to put, and this is Rotary wants to donate this. We'll see. I don't know where it's at, but they're looking for more donated money to put up a fence, kind of integrated into the landscaping. So from the park side, it'll still look good landscaping, but if there was an event, you could just have a gate here and a gate over here, and then it would be completely secure. So for their alcohol sales or whatever else, it would be secure. For people trying to get in free, it'd be a lot easier to control. So those are just kind of some of the other things that are developing, but definitely the possibility is there to have a much more easily controlled event with like 2 main in and outs. Some of these things that maybe like me, you might have taken for granted, that some of that's the logistics of putting on an event at the riverfront can get really complicated. And this is gonna hopefully make a lot of that easier for the people putting on the event.
I have a question.
Yeah.
Whose globe is that behind
I guess it's the city's. I won't pretend to know everything about it. It used to be an acid ball for Boise Cascade, and when the city took the area for the park, it became their problem, and it is full of acid, and it's kind of a liability. And the tile mosaic on it was a great idea, but it's chipping away and falling off, and
that was where I was going with it.
Yeah, it's a big ticket item to fix it too. So
gotcha.
I won't pretend to know everything about that though.
That's good enough.
I can tell you that we get asked, I don't know how, every so many years, if urban renewal money can put that tile back. And all of you, this is, could urban renewal money be used to put the tiles back in there that are missing? Come on, I've taught you better. We can't do maintenance.
Can't do
maintenance. And so the reason why it's not fixed is because I think it was like over $300,000 that I heard to fix that. And again, our money can't be used for maintenance and repairs. So.
How about constructing a site obscuring barrier? I just feel bad. You got a fancy new bridge, you got a fancy new amphitheater, and then you got this old crumbling world. It hurts from aesthetic by far.
The world is literally falling apart.
Raise money for that next.
There you go.
I've been wanting to use the word literally because it doesn't get used enough. The world is literally falling apart, and Charles is trying to put it back together.
I'm trying to put it back together.
I've got a question. Is the bathroom occupancy remaining the same, and are the only restrooms, at least fixed ones, attached to the system, going to be by the playground? Because 5,000 people, that's a lot of people.
Yeah, that's something that was talked about a lot in a lot of meetings, was what to do about restrooms. And the city's master plan does have, let's see if I can find that image. The city's master plan does have new restrooms going in, like up here at the north end. And I can't remember if it was funding, was probably funding the main issue. They couldn't put them in right now. So for the time being, events would probably need to bring in porta potties, like they do now. But the city is putting in restrooms on the north side of the park, I think. Is that right, Sheree? Aren't they doing that right now?
Yeah, I mean, by the pavilion, they are putting restrooms in, and I can tell you that's way overdue, because it's very strange to have something at that pavilion and have nowhere to go unless you went all the way back up to the carousel. So there is a barrier around the construction area that they're putting those restrooms in, but that would still be quite a distance if you were up at the other end at the amphitheater. I mean, I knew the original 4-acre plan included a playground, a restaurant, additional parking. So I anticipate, even though this is now there, they would do a restroom. I just don't know the timing of it. They're focused on the other one first.
Got it. It would just, yeah.
I know that the plan was to put in the infrastructure to be able to put them in when the time's right. But again, that's not my project. I'm not sure when or what they're going to do.
Well, what I'll do for
Yeah, it'd be
December, I'll see if Patricia Farrell, because she's the one who gave us an overview of the plan when it was kind of at the end of its development. I'll check in with her to see if there's any updates or anything and have her come with that too.
Well,
All right.
I know porta potties are very practical, but you know, it'd be so great to have it be seamless. And now, and you'd hate to rip up cement later. It sounds like maybe, hopefully, the infrastructure's there and tapped out. But
That was the
Thank you.
plan. Yeah. Okay. Any other questions for me?
well done.
Thanks.
yeah,
Thank you.
well done.
All right. Yeah, I mean, it's definitely a lot of people and a lot of work. So, but it's fun to be part of. All right. So what are we on? We're on downtown streetscape.
So I wanted to talk to you about two things. One, the streetscape is underway on the north side of Court Street there by Isaacs. All the cement is in. It looks so much better. They'll be putting the ped lights in, and then they'll be doing the tree wells. And so it really does look good. And then of course they're doing on State Street. The goal is to be done before the construction moratorium and the holidays so that the businesses aren't impacted. So everything's on track, but it's always a little iffy with respect to like ped lights and stuff because of COVID. Not everything comes at the timeline of which they have been ordered and expected. But the bigger thing I wanted to talk to you about was our goal was always to keep doing a streetscape project each year, because part of the project isn't what you see above the sidewalk, but it's below the sidewalk, the infrastructure to be able to put ped lights in order to be able to have twinkle lights over the holidays, a drip system for baskets, an opportunity for fiber optics. So even though the public doesn't realize that, that was always part of the importance of doing streetscape in downtown, because right now we're unable to do that because we don't have the infrastructure. So when we first started out looking at streetscape, we had public works staff go around and do a condition report because we thought that would be the basis for how we would decide where we would start our streetscape. And we had them give us estimates for what they thought that was going to cost. It then morphed into, we hired a consultant to put together the design concept. And then we looked at where would be the best places to do phase one. And we landed on those areas that were at the entrances to the parks and areas where we knew private investment was going in so that we could coordinate and build off of improvements that were being done. So as you know, we're in a completely different moment now. We have businesses, property owners challenged with the impacts of COVID. So when I sat down to talk about where I thought phase two would be, because the goal was to have something queued up to keep this going, because we know it's going to take multiple years, I had to look at it very differently this time, because nobody wants it to go any place that would be disruptive to especially a restaurant business. And of course, when you do streetscape, you take sidewalks offline in order to do that. And so I just wanted to share with you where we'll be looking at the next phase of streetscape to keep it going, but taking into consideration areas where it would have minimal impact on businesses. So we're gonna go and look at finishing up Court Street between Front and Commercial. Music Court is there, but that's the only restaurant that's kind of in that zone. And they use a little area right outside of their door, and they're open breakfast and lunch only. So the benefits to completing that area is there's no ped lights, there's no lights at all on that side, on the south side of Court. So we would be looking at that area between Front and Commercial on the south side to finish up both sides of the street on Court between Commercial and Front. And then we're going to jump over to High Street between Court and Chemeketa. Every single one of those tree wells has not had a tree forever. We know that probably something, hopefully in the future, will happen at the pit and the diamond lot. So we're looking at going down there and making improvements, hoping then that it would then connect into what might be going on at Chemeketa between High and Liberty. So I just wanted you to know what's driving the next location. Obviously, if something happened, I'm trying to think of an example. If somebody was doing some type of renovation where they wanted to be doing sidewalk improvements as part of their renovation, we would always sit down with them and look at a way to do it if we could at the time that they were doing something else to be efficient. That's what we did by the Roth McGilchrist building where Ritter's is. When they were doing that big renovation of those two buildings, they wanted to do all new sidewalk. And so we came in with a grant and let them include that in their scope of their project. And it was certainly a lot more affordable than what it would have cost us. We're doing something similar with the Nishioka building. They're doing the streetscape in front of their building in accordance with our plan. And that's, again, we gave them a grant, and we'll be getting that as part of that grant. So where we can have the developer build it into their projects and we can have those savings, we will. So I didn't want you to think that I'll lose sight of that. But we're having to be very sensitive to limiting impacts right now to the businesses. So I wanted to share that with you. Does anybody have any questions?
Is the Holman Hotel going forward, and is that going to be a similar situation with where you would do the streetscape as that project?
The goal is to do the exact same thing. The Holman Hotel, we've had several meetings with, and they certainly, what they've submitted for permits includes our streetscape design concept. Again, because they're doing the loading, unloading off Commercial Street, it will be tweaked a bit to accommodate that. A lot of this is gets custom based on what is already there. They haven't applied for a grant yet, so I can't answer the question as to if that's something that will be incorporated into that grant or if it will be ours. I think they can control their own destiny better if it's part of what they're doing as far as timing and everything. But it is a little tricky even on the Nishioka building because we worked out with them, our schedule, and we have a contract, and again, it's supposed to be done and they're behind a bit. So we're having to work even closer with them so that we can get our piece done, because we need to have them open up some of the infrastructure for us to do that. But we'll do it because it makes sense. So anyway, I just wanted you to know. And then the other thing, I just want to make sure everybody knows how to answer the questions that come up. I think people have been confused because there's 3 things happening on State Street. And so I guess I'm mostly sensitive. I really think streetscape is a great thing for downtown. And I don't like it if I hear negative things about it. And I have, but when I've asked questions as to where it's coming from, it's made it clear that there's some misunderstanding about what streetscape is versus other things that are going on. So on State Street, we have 3 things going on. We have streetscape, which is only between Front and Commercial. That's all. And then there's weekend street closures on State Street between Liberty and Commercial. And then we have what's happening at the intersection on State in order to convert to 2-way. So if you're a business on State Street and you lose your parking on the weekends, that was a Summer Street project, but I think it's coming out as streetscape. So when you check in with people, it's like, well, I don't like the streetscape. We're not doing streetscape there. No streetscape. No streetscape. But again, I can see where somebody would say streetscape because it's this, what happens on the street is impacting them. And what's on the corner, you can get around that. But again, if I'm a business in that area and I'm a non-restaurant business, I have been impacted by the Summer weekend street closure. And now I have people, walking around trying to get across the street to see me because of what's happening at the signals. So I just want to make sure that if you're asked questions, you can make sure and differentiate the difference between my streetscape project, Summer Streets, and what's happening at the intersection to do the conversion down to Church Street. So does anybody have a question on that?
So Cherie, I don't have a question, but I do want to offer apologies because I thought that the corner intersection was part of streetscape. So I misled people when they were questioning whether or not construction would be going into the holiday shopping time. I didn't have an answer for that, but I thought it was streetscape. So I probably was one telling people the wrong project. Sorry.
It's okay. And again, in downtown, unless something's already started, you can't start construction because there's a moratorium on it, just so that the businesses aren't negatively impacted for customer parking over the holidays. So that was put in place, I don't know, a long time ago. But yes, I know it's our projects, and I really found I think this was confusing because of the 3 things. And unless you know exactly what's going on, it's hard to articulate it. So anyway, thanks for letting me say that. And then the next item, Erin, that's kind of a fun thing that I wanted to share with you. Lisa,
do we do fun things?
No, holiday market. Oh, do we do fun things? Funny, come on. Be nice to me. Come on.
Sorry, no, please, of course, go ahead. Holiday market, 2020 holiday market? Is that what
Yes.
you're- Okay,
Yes,
I don't know what this is. I have no idea what this is.
I know, that's why I want to end high. So basically, Lisa Sherman, who's on point for Saturday market, all the markets, she was on point for the market over on North Block that we used to have on Wednesdays in downtown. She approached me about her vendors were wanting to do a holiday market, and where might we be able to do that? She wanted to do it in Chemeketa Parkade, and I told her that we have the roof closed in Chemeketa Parkade right now due to vandalism and issues with the decking up there, and that Chemeketa historically is used over the holidays, but would she think about Liberty Parkade? Because Liberty Parkade isn't dead on the weekends because it's a Monday through Friday, 8 to 5. Would that work for her? But I told her that my dream has always been that this covered area out back of UD by the alley between obviously the former Penny's building, because there's nothing in that building anymore, and how you enter UD from the back. I've always thought that that would be a great location for a year-round market. There used to be a fountain right outside of that area that it's never worked in the entire time I've worked here. I've tried to get it taken down to open that up even more. But on the other side of the parking area there's a paver plaza area, with steps and seating, and then a paver area over by where the kitchen store is, and the elevators, the 2 elevators up to Chemeketa. And so I said, wouldn't it be great if we could ever do something back there? So she came back and said Liberty was too steep, which was interesting for the vendors to set up. And then she went and was gathering information as to how many vendors. And so Outback works. And so I'm very excited that they're going to be setting up out there, probably 32 vendors, a couple of foodies out on the pavers. And it will start November 7th. And then they'll be there the 14th, 15th, 21st, and 28th of November. And then they'll come back in December for the 5th, 12th, and 13th. So I'm hoping that brings some energy into downtown at this time. And I can't wait to see how this space works for them out back. So I will keep you posted. What do you guys think?
Cool.
We'll take anything, actually. I don't care what it is.
That's a great solution.
Yeah, energizes. I think it will be fun. And just so that you know, the Penny's building, I'm sure it's vacant as of today. Goodwill came in and took stuff, and all week, kind of remnants have been going out the door. So I think it will be vacant. And my recent update on that is that the property owners will be in control of it, not because Penny's has a couple years lease. And so we'll hopefully see something happen there. So that's good. And then Aaron, do you owe me something?
Yes, I do.
Okay.
It shouldn't take long.
So I'll talk a little bit about what I'm talking to Aaron about. So as you know, Kristen and I have been trying to meet with property owners that have a lot of vacancy. We met with the broker on the former Penny's building. We met with the owner on Liberty Plaza. We met with Dana on Salem Center. We had conversations with the owners of the Nordstrom's building. The only one I haven't set up yet is the owner of the Pit, the former Wells Fargo site. We did that because we had a meeting with Emerson. That's the building on the corner of Front and Chemeketa that Clint referenced in his overview of the UGM Saffron site. Anyway, we wanted to check in with them, hear what they were doing, and see if there was any role that we might be able to play in helping them. And so what we came out of that with is we thought we could do some preliminary, buy some consulting services to help them determine if their building could accommodate the housing element. Because right now, obviously, commercial is struggling, retail is struggling, but housing seems to be doing okay. And so several of them indicated an interest in having us do that for them, where we would take a look at the structural elements, mechanical elements of the building to see if it was a go or no go for adding housing. And of course, you can always do something, but that doesn't mean it's financially feasible. I mean, you could probably add housing to any building, but would it make sense because of what you would have to do to get the housing in the building? So I just wanted you to know that we're working at trying to figure out if we can help with this, because I'm very concerned right now, because with Penny's gone, we really have a corner there at Chemeketa and Liberty that is bad. And I'm just going to be honest. I mean, Thai Orchid is moving across the street where Rapid Refill was, which means Liberty Plaza will be down to Tipton Coin as its only tenant. So the Pennies will be vacant. Liberty Plaza will pretty much be vacant. We've got the pit. And then even though the mall's 82% occupied, which is great, it feels vacant because it's such a big space and tenants are spread out. So there, I was going to end with the high note. Back to the holiday market. Anyway, we're trying to help. You guys, I know, are supportive of us trying to find a way to help through our grant program and in these services. So,
Well, we can, it's a bad corner, but it's an opportunity, right?
absolutely.
So we can be part of creating the vision for what can happen there, and then hopefully people will come to the party and we'll contribute some money, some URA money, right? And then we'll get some exciting new things happening.
Yeah, the last update I got on if we could secure a bond was positive, because as you know, we ended our last budget discussion with nowhere near the level of funds that we've had. And a lot of it has been going towards the homeless. So unless we got some additional bond funds, we were going to be pretty strapped this year to be doing much, which was always bothersome, because if an opportunity comes up, you want to be there. So it looks like it's positive in us getting some additional resources. So that'll be great.
Thanks, Sheree.
You're welcome.
What's happening downtown? Do we have any other updates or?
That's kind of when all of you can tell me what's going on too. Anything happening?
For the Nishioka building, they are just a little behind, but progressing well. I haven't toured it recently, but I hope to see they're getting the upper floors have cabinets and appliances and things going in. So that's exciting. The last I heard, which was a week or more ago, the interest list or / waiting list was at 101.
Wow.
How many that translates into actual leasing, I don't know. They are hiring, or they have hired a person that will be at the building site when the space is available to her for coming in for people to talk about leasing. And I'll know more. We have a meeting tomorrow. So next meeting, I might have more information.
So Linda, can you do something for me?
What is that?
I had heard when Willamette University, you know how they'll do their, before the school starts, the parents and the students come into town. Word got back to me that they really didn't have information on housing and they were very interested. So if you could pass on to who's ever on point for marketing those units to get something over to Willamette,
I will.
That would be great.
Yeah, and the person we're being introduced to, it would be the person that would probably be involved in that. So I will bring it up. I've added a couple other additional items to the agenda, so I'll send that off today too. And that's surprising because that was part of the whole point was for, potential
know.
students. Yeah. So, okay, I'll make sure that the message gets sent.
Thank you.
Beautiful new paint job on the Western Oregon building.
On the Vic building?
Yes.
Yeah, that's what Hillary was talking about, that she's behind schedule, but catching up. And the building that had the former Hair Academy, it just had major cracks and stuccos repaired and a new paint job. It looks very nice also. I'm trying to think. We have a couple of grants out to the Rivers building. They have Mathnasium going in and Coffee Oasis going in, and the Irish Bistro that was in the Reed that had a fire. They're moving over into a space on High Street.
Is there a grant out for the Reed Opera House for that? What's going in on the ground floor there on Court? Is it Court?
Yes.
Reed Opera House?
Yes.
There's some pretty major construction there. I don't know what's going on.
Rebecca, are you there? Okay.
Yes, I am.
Oh, there you are. You want to talk a little bit about Don's vision for that space?
Yeah, so he does have a grant out for that property, and it'll be a coffee shop, like a joint. Basically, if you've seen it recently, the entire first floor portion of what you're looking at will be expanded out. They're kind of revising some walls and moving some things around, but it essentially will be like a large coffee shop area with, I believe, Sheree, that he had mentioned that he was going to be selling sandwiches, that sort of thing as well. But essentially more of a coffee shop. And then they were going to be redoing their windows as well, redoing the glazing there, but expanding the whole area out and really opening it up for kind of just a more collaborative place to just go grab a coffee and do some work. So did I capture that all clearly? It's a huge space. So,
yeah, it looked like it was a pretty big renovation for
it's not a small
seen in the past. Yeah. Cool.
And Exotic Plants is going in where Hadaware was. And I understand, Charles may know more. I understand the operator of Top Drawer has a relationship with the Exotic Plants. And actually, depending on how that works, we don't have anything like that. So it would be interesting. I would think with more residents in downtown, being able to have access to something like that for your home would be pretty cool. So I'm kind of excited about that going in. So even though we have things, leaving, in general, we always have new things coming in too, which is always positive. I can't think, Rebecca, do we have any more grants out?
Nothing official. We're waiting on a few here and there. Sisters Irish Bistro, of course, but Kubler's had mentioned the strategic project grant. So we have a few bites, but nothing else. The elevator grant for 494 State Street, but that's it for right now. They come in daily though, so the inquiries.
That's all that we know about what's happening.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right. Unless anybody has anything else.